Got Mike Skyrpnek here with me, and the reason I have Mike with me today is Mike has written 3 books, and I thought I'd ask him a few questions about writing a book, or writing books, I guess, per se, and some of the lessons that he's learned from it. And so Mike, thanks for taking time out to talk to me today. I appreciate that. And why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about you, and then just a quick rundown on your books.
Well, Chris, I've ended up in a position where I'm a speaker, an author, a coach, and I've been a legacy planning authority in Canada, which means helping people connect their philanthropic intent with their finances, either their business or their personal finances. So I've positioned myself in a very interesting niche market, and I would have to say that a large portion of it could be owed to the fact that I've become an author and written a number of books. It's an incredibly powerful tool. A number of years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I started the process of writing my first book on philanthropy and the journey that business and entrepreneurs take. But I have to say, I made a lot of mistakes. I think any author would say that, but I did a lot of things interestingly incorrect looking back.
Well, I'd imagine from your first book to your third book, there's lots of lessons learned. But what were some of the big mistakes that you made right out the gate?
Well, first of all, now one thing I always suppose is finding people who know better and can help you, guide you through that process. But there's a lot of things about that process that you could probably tackle on your own. So I did find who I thought was a really great resource and brought them on as a retainer. An interesting endeavor when writing a book, because you really don't have to do that. But I brought this person on to help guide me and put me into position with, the editor and the various other people that are part of putting a book together. And so I paid a retainer. And then I paid some enormous publishing fees, if you will, in that process. Now, I have to say, having an editor is an extraordinarily helpful thing to keep you on track and to keep your mind working, and a writer that kind of asks you if that's really what you meant to say. I thought that was helpful. But the cost, I thought, was exorbitant, looking back now. To give you an idea, it might have taken me a year to get this done, the first book, but it cost me about $32,000 of an investment in that effort.
Wow, that's pretty costly if you're going to be self-publishing, I would imagine.
Well, it's extremely costly. I did learn a lot in the process, but I think I learned a lot of what not to do. I think the first half of that $30,000 or so was really spent investigating how to do it and bringing people in who maybe could help me, unknowingly, actually. And then the second part was actually just funding, putting a book together, having the numbers that are necessary for the sale of a book, and the whole getting it listed on Amazon and all those things. So looking back, we can do that a lot better.
Yeah, I was going to say, flash forward to your latest book. What, did you do it quicker and less expensive?
4 years later, I finished off 2 books this fall that I basically started in the spring of 2014. So less than 8 months. And one's a 300-page book on big growth, big impact, teaching entrepreneurs. And the other one was my follow-up book on philanthropy. And Chris, I have to say, even having an editor in there to come clean it up, and all the costs, and even my first print run, 2 books I did for probably less than $4,000.
Wow. So if I'm looking at 2 books for less than $4,000, let's just even swag $2,000 for each one. That's to go from $32,000 down to $2,000 per book is a dramatic decrease. So I guess you've got a lot of lessons learned.
I did, and quite frankly, the editor-writer that I hired to help me sort out some of my thoughts on one of the books, quite frankly, without that, I could have probably dropped another $3,000 off of that. So the truth is, Chris, nowadays, publishing a book has never been easier, but it's very difficult if you have no idea where to go or what resources that you'll have to seek out in order to do that. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Mike, I think the other thing too is you and I will be doing a webinar in regards to just giving some of the secret sauce away. But the other thing too is if people want to reach out to you and potentially have you guide them through the process or become a coach for them through the process, what's the easiest way that someone can get a hold of you?
Easily, they can just go to info@mikeskyrpnek.com or info@biggrowthbigimpact.com.
Excellent.
Either one will get to me.
Either one will get to you. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Chris, when we were talking about the possible seminar or webinar for book writing, absolutely one of the most exciting things this year that I'll be doing is helping entrepreneurs figure out how to corner this little gem of a credibility marketing piece. I mean, understanding how to write a book, doing it cost effectively, finding a resource that will tell you the truth about what you can and can't do in terms of writing a book and how simple it is. There's a lot of resources out there that people will pay that will basically fleece you. You know, at the end of the day, they'll charge you $5,000 a month for some kind of ridiculous retainer when all you really need is direction to where that $250 editing is. You know, it's a very simple process. I think entrepreneurs doing their first book are getting steered the wrong way. So I suggest they seek out someone like myself or go online and watch our webinar when we do it.
Excellent. The other thing I want to ask you about is you brought it up briefly, but the fact of having a book as a business card. What's your take on that?
Oh, for maybe, you know, right now I can print a book on demand for $2.70 before shipping, right? So that's probably the best possible business card I could ever give to a prospect, current client, or someone I'd like to be introduced to.